foreign policy and sense of security. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has made sea access a national priority, framing it as essential for Ethiopia's survival and economic future. The government argues that relying on neighbors for access to global markets is unsustainable for a country of Ethiopia's size. This dependency is seen as a vulnerability, fueling a powerful narrative of national pride and historical injustice. The loss of Ethiopia's coastline is viewed as a wound that has never healed, and regaining access is now a matter of national destiny. Abiy's rhetoric has turned a logistical challenge into a rallying cry, galvanizing public opinion and raising regional tensions. What was once managed quietly is now a headline issue, with Ethiopia insisting it needs secure, affordable gateways to the sea. This renewed push for a sovereign port on the Red Sea has set the stage for a tense and unpredictable chapter in the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia's landlocked status began in 1993, when Eritrea's independence cost Ethiopia its entire coastline. The ports of Massawa and Assab, once Ethiopia's gateways, became foreign territory overnight. After a border war in 1998, Ethiopia lost access to Assab and turned to Djibouti as its main trade route. Today, 95% of Ethiopia's foreign trade passes through Djibouti, making it an economic lifeline, but also a strategic risk. Ethiopia pays Djibouti over $1.5 billion annually in port fees, straining its economy and increasing costs for businesses and consumers. This dependency leaves Ethiopia vulnerable to political instability or disputes with Djibouti. The government sees this as a strategic straitjacket, limiting autonomy and exposing the country to external pressures. Leaders in Addis Ababa worry about Djibouti's leverage and the potential for disruption. Ethiopia's search for alternatives is driven by the need for true sovereignty and economic security. The ultimate goal: a port Ethiopia can call its own. The port of Assab holds a near-mythical status in Ethiopia, a symbol of lost opportunity and future hope. Once Ethiopia's main maritime gateway, Assab fell into disuse after the border war, becoming a ghost port just across the border. Ethiopians see a port they helped build sitting idle, while they pay billions to use Djibouti's facilities. This sense of historical ownership fuels Ethiopia's emotional and political drive to regain access. The argument, Eritrea isn't using Assab, while Ethiopia desperately needs it. This perspective ignores Eritrean sovereignty, but explains why Assab is the focal point of Ethiopian ambitions. The dream of returning to Assab has persisted for decades, now thrust into the spotlight by Abiy's public declarations. Ethiopia's desire extends beyond trade. It wants a naval base to protect its interests in the Red Sea. Assab, for Ethiopia, is the most logical and direct solution to its landlocked dilemma. When Abiy Ahmed became prime minister in 2018, he was celebrated for making peace with Eritrea, earning a Nobel Peace Prize. Early hopes for economic integration and renewed port access faded as border crossings closed and promised cooperation stalled. By 2023, Abiy's tone shifted. He began publicly demanding Ethiopia's natural right to the Red Sea, initially calling for dialogue and economic deals. As diplomacy stalled, his rhetoric hardened, warning that Ethiopia's survival was at stake and hinting at force if negotiations failed. Phrases like, "we will take it," sent shockwaves through the region, signaling a move from peacemaker to potential aggressor. Abiy's escalation has turned a long-term economic goal into an urgent security crisis. He has staked his political credibility on securing sea access, making it difficult to back down. The risk of diplomatic failure turning into military confrontation has never been higher. Eritrea's response to Ethiopia's demands has been firm and uncompromising. For Eritrea, forged in a long struggle for independence, the issue is about sovereignty, not economics. President Isaias Afwerki's government views Ethiopia's rhetoric as a direct threat to Eritrean existence and has condemned it as expansionist. Any concession, even a lease, is seen as a betrayal of Eritrea's hard-won independence. This stance unites Eritreans and justifies the country's militarized posture. Eritrea's red line is clear. Any violation of its borders will be met with fierce resistance. The impasse is now a dangerous standoff, with little room for negotiation. The Ethiopia-Eritrea standoff has alarmed the Horn of Africa and the world. The African Union and United Nations have called for restraint, fearing a conflict would destabilize the region and undo years of peace building. The Horn is already fragile, with wars in Sudan, instability in Somalia, and internal tensions in Ethiopia. A new war could trigger mass displacement, famine, and draw in regional and global powers. Ethiopia's attempt to lease Somaliland's coastline nearly sparked conflict with Somalia, showing how quickly the crisis can spread. The international community is urgently pushing for diplomacy, recognizing the high stakes. A war would disrupt trade, create a refugee crisis, and empower extremist groups. The world is watching, hoping to prevent another devastating conflict in the region. The Red Sea dispute is not just regional, it threatens one of the world's most vital trade routes. The Red Sea and Suez Canal handle about 12% of global trade, including much of the world's oil and gas. Instability here could disrupt shipping, spike global prices, and trigger economic shockwaves. That's why world powers like the US, China, and Gulf states have military bases and investments in the region. A conflict could militarize the waters, endanger shipping, and force costly detours around Africa. The stakes are enormous. Global trade, energy security, and billions in investments hang in the balance. The world's pressure on Ethiopia and Eritrea is about more than peace. It's about protecting vital interests. The outcome will affect not just the Horn, but the global economy. Three futures are possible for Ethiopia and Eritrea. The best case, a diplomatic deal, with Ethiopia leasing part of Assab in exchange for revenue and guarantees of Eritrean sovereignty. A broader vision, regional economic integration, with shared infrastructure and prosperity for all, though trust is in short supply. The worst-case war, whether a full invasion or a border skirmish that spirals out of control. Conflict would devastate both countries, create a massive humanitarian crisis, and draw in regional and global actors. Each path, deal, partnership, or war depends on the choices of leaders in Addis Ababa and Asmara. Some see Ethiopia's threats as negotiation tactics. Others fear Abiy may feel compelled to act. The world is watching, hoping for statesmanship over destruction. The stakes could not be higher for the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia's quest for Red Sea access is a clash of national ambition and sovereignty, shaped by history and nationalism. The crisis is a test of leadership for both Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki, with consequences far beyond their borders. Abiy must secure Ethiopia's interests without triggering war. Backing down could be politically dangerous, but force would be catastrophic. Isaias faces the challenge of defending sovereignty while considering economic opportunity. The region's future, cooperation or conflict, hangs in the balance. The dispute over a single port symbolizes the Horn's larger challenges, history, borders, and the choice between confrontation and cooperation. The outcome is uncertain, but the need for political courage and creative diplomacy is clear. The fate of millions depends on the wisdom of a few leaders, as the world waits and hopes for peace.